Good morning, my friend. Pastor Curt here, and I do have a question for you on Good Friday. And it's a straightforward question. No stories, no illustrations, just a straightforward and most important question. What was the sacrifice of Christ? What was it really? You see, on this day, we're tempted to think that it was the trials he went through and the cross that he bore and the crown that was put on his head and the crucifixion itself. And that is true. That's a part of what Christ sacrificed. But God loves you so much that it was so much more than that he sacrificed. There's really three things that Christ sacrificed for us. First of all, he gave up his position. Here's what it says in Philippians 2, 6 and 7. Who being in the very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing. Plainly put, he didn't grasp onto the authority he had in heaven as God, but instead willingly gave that up. You know, you and I, we get offended when someone gets the title of our position wrong. We get offended when in the family structure or the organization we're in, people don't call us right or recognize us correctly by our position. And yet Jesus himself gave up all of heaven. His sacrifice didn't start at the cross. It started when he said, Father, I'll go. I'll leave heaven and I'll become one of them and be among them. But that's not all he gave up. He gave up his own defense. In Isaiah 53, verse 7, 500 years before Christ was on trial, this is what was said about him. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. Have you ever been offended? Have you ever had someone say something about you that was untrue and wrong? I remember one time this happened to me, and I wrote an angry email to this person, and I almost sent it every day for a week. But God kept whispering to me, let me defend you. Jesus stood before Herod. He stood before Pontius Pilate. He stood before the Sanhedrin, and he did not defend himself. Why? Because he was there to defend you, not himself. He gave up his own defense. And then finally, he gave up his life. Matthew 27, 32 and 33. As they were going out, they met a man from Cyrene named Simon, and they forced him to carry the cross. They came to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. Think about this. His followers scattered. His religious leaders accused him and set him up. His government failed him. And at the very end, even his body grew so tired he couldn't carry the cross himself. And yet somehow he made it all the way to Golgotha. A lot of times on Good Friday, we imagine this hill with three very tall crosses on it, the scene we've seen in all the movies. But what the scholars agree, where this Golgotha was is a little bit disputed, but the scholars agree to this. The cross was probably only 6 inches off the ground. When his mother was there weeping, she could have touched his feet. He, my friend, died a powerful, cruel, torturous death, up close to the humanity he loved. He gave up his life for you and me. Today, let us meditate all day. Let us walk in this idea that he gave up heaven, he gave up his defense, all to give up his life, that you and I might be forgiven.